Yeah, you guys have like those type of like Zoom calls every now and then to like work out amongst yourselves and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, because our company is basically like besides our I mean like our region itself, it's already like sweat, grow and connect. So in order for us to connect with each other, you gotta like sweat together.
Mm.
Yeah. So even before this whole MCO started, like we've always been having like sweats together.
Mm.
That's like our normal like like normal routine. And then like the whole MCO started and like we started having gotta sweat like virtually.
Oh. Because I've been seeing a lot like,
Yeah.
and I'm really impressed at like how quickly companies like that they adapted, because like for you guys that's kind of like a company culture, right? Is it safe to call it that, where you guys like all the
Mm,
employees you guys actually meet together to exercise and stuff like that?
yeah, that's actually pretty normal for us. But it's just like they're not virtually.
Mm.
Um, and the lucky part is that like some of us are like for me, like I'm a yoga teacher as well. I teach yoga. There are some of my colleagues who is also coaches.
Mm.
So then like it's just like they just have to say yes, and then they can just straight away teach like virtually.
Just like
Yeah.
how you were doing for a little while now, right?
Mm, yeah.
Because I see a lot of like dance instructors actually, they actually teach their dancers online, and I see bands
Mm,
doing Zoom calls, and they just uh,
yeah.
of course not exactly in singer, but they'll edit to get all the band playing together. And I was actually really surprised how fast everybody is actually responding to it.
People not showing up, people not replying. Of course.
A lot
Like
of goals, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's just like communication and like that's why the good thing about us as a team that like no matter how hard the situation is, we'll always like bring it up. And like our working culture, one of the things that I really like love about like working is that everyone is just open for feedback, and no matter what position you are in, you can always like give feedback. um yeah, and then like it just depends on you whether you want to like take it or leave it. Or and I always believe that like if your reaction to a feedback basically is a reflection of who you are as a person. So like if you're being defensive, instead of blaming people, why don't you ask yourself like, why am I being so defensive? Is it because of the person pointing out, is it like the truth and it's something that I'm like in denial of, or what?
And actually, like staying on that tangent, like you mentioned communication, I really feel that that is even more important now that we cannot even meet face to face and stuff like that. And almost all type of communication and interaction is done virtually like this. And just like you said, like when people
Yeah.
don't reply and they ghost, and a lot of things can get lost like in translation. So I really do appreciate you bringing up that fact of like communication and people being able to accept criticism, because something that I found out
Mm-hmm.
personally is just that, especially when we're texting long conversations, or like if there's conflict already and we're texting to solve it, wow, the tone, right, sounds very
Yeah.
different. Like if you are just texting what you want to say, and versus like I'm actually just talking to you, and you can hear my tone whether it's angry or not. Because when you say something on text, right, the tone is completely up to the receiver's interpretation, and I can see like so
Mm-hmm.
much
Yeah.
and like needless arguments that was actually generated with our poor communication skills. So that's actually, now that you brought it up, something that I really saw really, really evident was communication.
Like this is where I realized that, oh, like the compassion side, okay, like I am frustrated. Instead of like putting like me, like why don't I like have a listen to like the person's like is it because like what's happening?
Mm.
Being basically just like being curious instead of being angry that, oh, like they're not replying. Why don't I like approach that person like being open and be curious, like what's up, like what is happening, why are you not communicating? Which what I did, but it took some time because I was like just way like too angry with the whole situation. Yeah, and then like the moment this person told me that like, oh, I'm still trying to like adapt into this new normal because I'm so used to have like face-to-face connection. Like they are not used to this kind of virtual connection, and it's making them feel really down, and it's really hard for them to show up. Yeah, so then like the moment they said that, I was just like, whoa, like
So bad.
okay, yeah, and then like the whole like the instantly the whole my anger is just like thrown away. Yeah, and then I was like my compassion, I was like, oh my god, like I can feel you, I understand you, now I got it. So like instead of being angry, like now my side, it's like, how can I support you better? Should I give you more time or space? Like how can I help you?
So actually,
Yeah.
that time to like understand where they're coming from before we react in anger.
Yeah, so being like proactive rather than being reactive.
Yeah, and I think like
Yeah.
I always use this with the word like empathy, because it's so easy for
Mm-hmm.
us to demand other people to like, you should understand how I'm feeling, and like it's so frustrating
Mm-hmm.
for me. But when, I mean, if everybody thought like that, then really nothing is going to get solved. No problems are not getting solved. We're not moving forward. Everybody is just self-centeredly thinking about their own needs. But I feel like in your version, like you said, being curious, I also feel that that is being
Mm-hmm.
empathetic, to understand, try your best to understand from the other person's point of view, like what could they be going through. And when you understand their point of view, you're in such a
Mm-hmm.
better position to actually help them and then move forward so that everybody can achieve what all of us are trying to achieve. So I really like that, like being curious. I never thought of it that way. Like I really like that.
In a way, I would say like it's a this whole thing has been like blessings in disguise, because um because they also like like the company itself, like they also prepare a lot of calls for us, like developmental calls, meditation calls, like 8 in the morning, like 7 in the morning, if you can wake up, for those who like early rises. And there's also like practice of resilience, like how do you like manage your stress, how do you tune into your body to like notice that whether you're stressed or not, and all these calls, that which I think like it really is a blessing, because I realized like not a lot of companies that does that. And it's just like work, 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 and they don't just like prioritize on, you know, like the main thing, the main things that drives the business, but they also like care about
The people on
um the people, yeah, the people in the team, not just like the people outside, but also like the internal teams.
in this season, we're going through a lot of personal struggles as well, and like how we're actually trying to navigate around all of that. Like, you want to share a little bit about that?
Like some days it's like it's so hard, because like life just feels like the same.
Uh huh.
You literally like wake up, and then you like, okay, you go to calls, and then what, like by like lunchtime, and then you go eat, and then you work out, and then you call it a day, and then the same thing again and again and again. Sometimes it just feels like the it's like this, the circle just goes back like this. As an introvert, I was actually like quite okay in the beginning, but I think like a week ago, before the whole like conditional MCO, like before they announced, I remember I was just lying in bed. I was like, how the heck am I gonna survive for the next 12 days? Because I can't do this anymore.
Even if it's like I can't take it no more.
Yeah, it's so freaking hard. I'm like, it's like this is like the most like mentally challenging thing that I've ever like go through. It's just so hard. I can't even like those who are doing online studies, because I have some friends who are doing like studying online. I don't even know how like they can cope it. When I was looking at their deadlines,
Uh-huh.
because I think some of the uni like because they can't have tests, so like they replace it with assignment, and because there's so much more assignment now, like their deadline is really like day after day. And I was like, yeah, I thank God I graduated just in time before this whole thing started, because I don't think I can do this. My mental health will just flunk off. What about you? Like how have you been?
I think that like when we were talking about getting this call, you actually mentioned something that life is trying to make us surrender and surrender and surrender every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And over the past few weeks, actually, I cannot even say days, actually, over the past few weeks, I just felt that was so true. And I felt really, really cornered. I really, really backed into a corner because I had a lot of things that I had to think about. Like there was mainly it was just this big rental case that I was supposed to move into in KL, and because of the
Mm-hmm.
MCO, like nobody could have like foreseen the MCO coming. So then it delayed my move in, and after a while, things got really, really sour between the property manager and the three of us, like me and my two friends. So we're going back and forth and back and forth, and he had my rental deposit, which he wasn't really willing to give back, and it was just a really bad experience because it was just like day after day. I would have to. I felt like go to battle with this guy, and I was kind of like
Mm.
representing my other two friends, so I felt really alone in that battle, and it was really hard to see the silver lining, really, really hard until a few days ago. And like, I don't mean to get like super spiritual right now, but like I turned back to God during this time because I felt so
Mm-hmm.
drained out. And sometimes even talking to my parents, I felt like I was a burden to my parents because like my dad has to work from home every single day. He has meetings like until
Mm.
midnight, and then his freaking son come back to Penang to live in his house, and then he brings all his problems to him. So I felt really bad talking
Mm.
to that. My mom also, like, I felt really bad talking to them. My grandmother, so I did share with them, but I felt really alone in the whole thing. So that was,
Mm.
and every single day, right, as I think that okay, finally everything is settled, we're on good terms. The next day, something different blows up, and something different blows up, and that just really occupied my mind up until like today when I finally get some money back. Another thing blows up, so I was that's the main thing. And besides that, also it was just trying to think about, oh, how do I get a job? And now that I've applied for my masters, is the
Mm-hmm.
application even going to be accepted and stuff like that? So there was, like you said, it's nothing physical, but it's mainly just like this mental wear down every day.
Yeah.
Life is
It is a lot.
hard.
Like sometimes you might see it as like, okay, like it's a small thing, but all these small things when you accumulate everything, it's like it's a lot for you. And I can't even imagine how you feel because like the uncertainty of it, it's a freaking nightmare lah. And like not being able to plan your week, like as someone who is such a planner, not being able to plan my week and I don't know what to do and I'm like stressed out. And even then I like sometimes I'm like, am I putting myself in this stressful situation? I know that most of our stress comes from ourselves, but like I can't help it.
Oh man, I
I
totally
was
read
like,
that because like sometimes it
mm,
just feels like going back to like you said that cycle. You think about like every single
mm,
day, right? Because the government is like they keep on extending and extending and extending. So we don't even know like like until the 12th or something. Then they extend till the 9th
mm,
of June. It's just like
yeah.
is this ever gonna end? And all the problems
Mm-hmm.
keep on coming and keep on bogging you down, man. Like
Yeah. And like the worst thing, about this whole thing is that like when I went back to work, even like driving and I was like, hold on. I mean, I know I did something, I did everything that I can during the quarantine, but I feel like in real life, my life feels like it did not progress
now you
from
stagnated at
that.
that point, right?
Yeah, it's just stagnant from like what, 17 March to like I don't know when the whole thing like open again, which is like last week only. So like this period where I'm just at home, I'm like I feel like I don't know, like I felt like, oh my god, wow, like your life, you barely even like progress in your life. And I guess like part of me felt like a sense of, I don't know, like shame or guilt, because especially like now that we're like I'm no longer studying, we both are no longer studying, and like you know, has that we both probably have that expectation of, you know, like our life would, you know, progress.
Mm.
We probably like, I don't know, like do something
Yeah,
or
I know, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really get that because I feel that I watched this video the other day and it really, really resonated with me. It's by Tim Ferriss, and he was
Mm-hmm.
saying what indiscriminate action, which is like people always say that, hey, go and do something, like don't just like sit there and do nothing. And he said that because people say you're lazy, right? If you just sit down and don't do
Mm-hmm.
anything. But he said action with no planning is actually laziness in disguise.
Oh
And
yeah.
felt like the past 4+ weeks is just random actions just shooting out of nowhere because we don't know what's going on, we don't know what's going to happen. So, and like I really felt that because like I was without a job, so I just found
Mm-hmm.
little bits and pieces here to try and make a few bucks along the way so that I can keep myself afloat. And after I watched that
Mm-hmm.
video, right, I slapped myself in the face, man. I was like, after all this, right, did you actually learn anything from the little jobs that you're doing on the side? Or are you just
Mm-hmm.
doing that to keep busy? And I noticed that I really was just doing this to keep myself occupied because I have so many hours in the day that I just don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to do. And I find myself just, watching videos, and I'm so happy that I came over that one because after that, I got pretty serious. I was like, okay, I cannot just like wake up and exist for the next few weeks until like the ninth of
Mm-hmm.
June. I won't say that I'm very much more productive, but I definitely feel a lot
Mm-hmm.
better about how I'm using my time right now.
That's good. Like you can sit down and actually like be much more like realistic with whatever that you want to do, right? And also, I guess like being able to sit down and like reflect, pause and reflect allows you to like remind yourself like what's your whole like intention of like the reason of why you want to start this whole thing, right?
That is like super true for me. I feel it really, really hard because
Mm-hmm.
like I'll be super open. Like after I lost my job and stuff like that, I actually had been accepted to Singapore Airlines as a cabin
Mm-hmm.
because I mean it's just something I wanted to try lah. Like be able to
Yeah.
say that wow, like I've actually been in like the world's #1 airline as the cabin crew, and I was really really
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that experience because I got accepted on my first try, and I had met people that have been trying for like 7 different times already over the past few years. So I felt really honored and really blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And when MCO kicked in, obviously they couldn't process a lot of the applications. And then
Yeah.
like, from I had like two job opportunities, and right after MCO it dropped down to zero. And not only I had no job
Mm-hmm.
future job opportunities, I didn't even have a job right now. So that really hit
Mm-hmm.
in the face. Like to your point, I thought I would be somewhere by now, and I guess
Yeah. See,
yeah,
like this is what. Mm-hmm. Expectation, right? Like, you know, before you graduate and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be this is what I'm gonna do. And then freaking MCO, you're like, well, nope, you're not. You're gonna sit your ass down.
stay put in your house, fool.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, oh my god damn it. Like I like my sense of control is like,
Just like
you
law.
know, wanting to control like all these things that I want to do, and I surrender and accept the reality, which is like what's the reality now.
Yeah,
But with this current situation, like how I would say that you are coping a lot more than people that I know. Like how do you navigate on that?
I think that I would attribute a lot of it to my upbringing, and I'm not gonna like go into this whole nature nurture thing, but I feel that my
Mm-hmm.
parents gave me a very strong mindset, and because of that they really laid out a very good foundation for me to be able to start to think on my own. But on top of that, I put my personal development like really really high up, as in like, I want to continuously better myself. So with
Mm-hmm.
my dad, he always comes from a perspective of if there's a problem, you need to solve it. You don't run from it. You meet it head on and you do your best
Mm-hmm.
to solve it until it's resolved. And my mom is always
Yeah.
make sure that you protect yourself and you never let people like shortchange you. So with those two like combined together, it really helped me to see things from a different perspective. And another thing that I always put very high up on my priority list is that I feel that I am not like entitled for people to treat me a certain way. I don't deserve to be treated well. Okay, that sounded really weird. It's more of like I don't have an entitlement that people need to treat me nicely, because
Mm-hmm.
who am I? Like, who am I to demand that of other people? Like, you need to think of my needs and you need to think of love. If you lay me off, what am I gonna do? And I always came from a perspective of they are a business, they are losing money, they have so much overhead. It is a good business move to lay people off right now. And that was my mentality. So I always had a mentality of you cannot control what's happening to you. You can only control what you do. So when stuff happens to me, I immediately default into a mindset of like, okay, what do I do now? And I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful because a lot of stuff has happened to me like over the years, and that has really, I feel like your mentality is very much like a muscle. It can be
Mm-hmm.
trained, it can be developed, and as you
Yep.
develop it and you train it, it just gets stronger. So that's how I feel about that. When you're frustrated, you actually think about the other person and how to be curious. Like, how did you actually get
Mm-hmm.
to that place where you are not only thinking about yourself, but you're actually thinking about other people?
It like I didn't did that like immediately. Honestly, I was angry, and then I acknowledged the fact that I am angry. Um, and then like luckily I have a mentor. The good thing is that I have a mentor that I can like go to and talk to. And then with all the calls that we have, they actually touch on this one, like being like that's one call that I attended. It's called being in relationship. So like in the call they talk about like being in relationship. That's like 3 C's that you need to like think of, which is commitment, curiosity, and compassion. So how are you when you want to be in a relationship with this person? How are you practicing compassion? How are you practicing curiosity? And like how are you committed? So commitment was something that like I highlighted a lot during that call itself, because I realized like when I communicate with someone, especially with like communication that are like quite tough to talk about, like saying like talking about things with my parents, there's certain things that like it's really hard to talk about. And then I realized like sometimes I give like half. I realized like I don't get straight to the point. So like that just shows that I'm not being committed to what I want to say. So that allows me to like, nope, if I choose to like talk things or like just being in relationship with that person, then like these are the 3 things that need to be like prioritized, especially commitment. If I say I want to do that, I should just say it no matter how hard it is. Like just being in connection with anyone in general, not just with your parents, but like it could be anyone. And I feel like it's such a good call for me, because I realize like even like if you think about the 3 C's and then you reflect it to yourself, I mean like the relationship you have with yourself is like the most important one. So are you taking care of yourself? Are you committed to yourself? Are you being compassionate to yourself? Are you being curious to yourself? Like instead of being so reactive, or instead of being reactive, like example, like instead of being so angry or having like set such a high expectation to yourself, like I should, like how am I gonna practice compassion to myself, especially like during this time? That's why I knew that I will have days where I'm okay, and then some days I'm not gonna be okay. So I told myself like days where I'm not okay, like it's okay not to be okay, and just really just hold space for yourself to be kind and compassionate to yourself. If there are days where you wake up and you just want to lie in bed for like the rest of the day, do that. Don't feel guilty or shameful about it. You're like, I'm a human. I acknowledge that I'm a human, and I also acknowledge that like this whole pandemic is really like the first time anyone everyone is really like in this together. You're not the only one. Sometimes it does feels alone, but then being able to like talk to myself, and then I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm not the only one. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, to just want to lie in bed the whole day. Yeah. So like I feel like this is something that everyone can relate to, because each time whenever I get into phone calls with my friends, and I just ask them like how are they and all that, and then like after they tell me that, I'm like, it's okay, like just have compassion to yourself and like hold some space for yourself, and also for people, because everyone is going through shit. Sometimes people say things that they don't actually mean,
Yeah.
because like this thing actually like drives people crazy. Yeah. So like just don't like over personalize things, I suppose.
I think that's why
Mm-hmm.
like giving yourself that personal time or like personal downtime is like
Mm-hmm.
so important. And I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning to like prioritize myself first, even though like my my innate reaction is to I want to care for other people. I want to make sure that all their needs are met. But I realize that in doing that so often, a lot of times I shortchange myself and I don't protect or take care of myself. And when that happens,
Yeah.
I'm not even in a position to like take care of other people anymore. Like,
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup,
yeah,
basically. Like you gotta really like take care of yourself, making sure that whatever that you need is fulfilled, then only you can give people. Because if not, you're just giving and giving and giving, and then you're just like empty.
yeah, you will eventually run
Mm-hmm.
dry.
Spending time alone. Solitude is something that it could be something that people like not is not comfortable with. But for me, like I've always been doing that since like high school. Like I always like read. Um, Reading, it's like one of the things that I show love to myself. Like it could be fiction, but mostly like now these days, like I've been reading a lot more like nonfiction, because personal development is very important for me. And I realized like through reading, you gotta like sometimes now I take a longer time to like self-reflect, because I realize like the things I read, I need to like apply what I read into my real life. Then only you can see that, oh, okay, that's what they mean. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time reading, spend a lot of time like sweating, because that allows me to, I guess like the adrenaline allows me to like think better, and um like being able to keep yourself fit also makes you feel better about yourself.
I really agree with what you said because like sometimes like for you, what could be self-restoring for you might sound really boring to somebody else. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that being really self-aware of like this is what I enjoy, as long as you're like not hurting somebody else, lah,
Mm-hmm.
as long as like what I'm doing, like I enjoy it and it kind of like heals me, like this process heals me.
Mm-hmm.
I think like we shouldn't be afraid to to prioritize that, like especially now like with much of our generation not reading books. I can see why people might think that that's like oh nerdy or boring or stuff. Like nobody reads.
Yeah, so boring. Yeah, but like it's just, I honestly feel like with self-love is so like you need a lot of self-acceptance and not being afraid about what people think. Like it's it, it's just, you just gotta accept that, okay, like they can think whatever they want, but like this is your life, you're the one who is living this life, so like you gotta do whatever it takes that keeps you going, man. Like no one's gonna give a shit about what you do.
Yeah. Right now would be such a good time for us to start focusing up on how we're going to live the rest of our lives like, after the MCO because I think I can't remember who said it, but I've heard like a couple of people say I will never have this much free time ever again in my life. And
Yeah, it's
I totally agree with that.
true.
Like, even if you work, you're just working at home every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that people will be able to start looking at how I can actually take care of myself better and in that
Mm-hmm.
way actually perform better at everything else that they're doing because number one is being taken care of better. So
Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you're gonna be forever good at that. Like
yeah,
you gotta do something to like keep up with it, you know. And I feel like this whole quarantine it forces people to actually face whatever that they've been like trying to run away from. If anything, yeah, like whatever that, like for a very good example for me would be like cleaning my room. I have like that corner, like I have this one, like my bed is here, and like this corner here, I have like one whole pile of clothes that I've have not like touched for like years. I'm not even kidding. Like it's not even months or days. It's years. It's years. It's freaking crazy.
How do you
Then
have
like my like there's always new stuff. I don't know. Like it's because I always have things to do, like, you know, like going to class or going to work, going to like just going out, like getting out of my room in general. Yeah, so it's like even like not just the corner but also like my whole closet. I knew that I need to do it, but then as usual, like always is procrastinating and like, nah, I'll do it next time. I'll do it next time.
year?
And then next time it becomes years. It's so freaking embarrassing. Yeah, and then even even in this MCO, it took me like I think day 32. That's when I started like, yeah, that's how long it is. Like I finally I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I set the date already, I set the time, I'm gonna do it. And then I
That's
did
insane.
the whole, yeah, I spent the whole day just like decluttering everything. And it's finally like it looks so good now, and I feel so much comfortable being in my own like room, and like being able to see what I want to wear instead of like, what is this? Where is this? Where did I bought this from? Yeah, it's so bad. And like, oh my god.
Oh, 2014. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, like I still have like clothes like this. Okay, time to declutter this. Maybe you can share like what did you do anything, like things that you've been like wanting to do but then you finally got around to do it, or you haven't do it but then like now that you have heard my story, maybe you will do it. Do you have anything?
Um, I think that I've always, hmm, I think there were two things mainly. Like one was training, like improving my basketball, and the second one was
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like getting in shape. So like on Instagram, I have been doing like this whole 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups thing like every other day, but I do skip some days. So now I started on Instagram. Mainly me doing it on Instagram was forcing myself
Mm-hmm.
to be accountable, because if I skip a day, then I'm gonna remember it. Like
Oh
because
yeah, it's social media. Yeah.
exactly, so I cannot escape that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that was one thing that, but me
Mm-hmm.
that actually was also in a way to kind of like show people that I want. I wanted to show people two things. Like one was that I don't need to work out for like 3 hours in one day. It's more of this short, like
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes. But the thing is, I'm committing
Mm-hmm.
to it every single day. And it's just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit only. It really doesn't take that long for me to finish this workout. It's not a very intensive workout.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that like I'm doing it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So one was that small changes every single day, and another thing was just that commitment to tell myself that if I'm not going to skip a single day, I will not skip a single day. So those are the two things that I was trying to do for other people and for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of like I've always wanted, like you said, getting organized. I think that a few things that I got organized in myself was like kind of like a small bucket list of what I
Mm-hmm.
really want to achieve in my life. And one was being able
Mm-hmm.
to dunk a basketball on like a normal hoop. So I
Mm-hmm.
started training just like because I'm really blessed. I have like a basketball hoop in my house, so I just kind of lower it and slowly keep
Mm-hmm.
dunking and just increasing the height bit by bit. I'm not making a lot of progress just yet, but hopefully one day I will be able to dunk.
Small progress is still progress.
Yeah, yeah. So like that whole thing, like little bit, like day by day. But I also
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that I wasn't overloading myself trying to do so many things at one time, to the point that like I lose that motivation to do it and I just screw everything all at once. So I think I'm taking it right now like
Mm.
month by month. Like this whole 30 days, I will be doing purely just the workouts and everything. And then like doing basketball, I told myself that before I die, I actually want to join some form of an MMA amateur competition. So
Mm-hmm.
something I want to do one day lah, one day. And all these little
Mm-hmm.
things. So I'm kind of pushing myself to do that. But I think one thing that I had accomplished was actually applying for my master's because I have been putting it off for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. I really don't want to study one. Like I tell you, I think about having to write a thesis, right? Ah, I can't.
Oh my God, I can feel your pain.
Like, oh,
Took me like so long to.
all over again. Like I was like, no, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm doing my best to think of it positively. So that's how I was kind of like veering my other just in time channel to like put more like psychology based content on there, like psychology, personal development, about my personal
Mm-hmm.
development. So that's how I kind of like changed the vision for that after I finally, because it was a mental block, I really didn't want to tell people that I want to apply for my master's because then I felt if I did
Mm-hmm.
that, people will start to look at you and judge your journey because I want to eventually take my master's, but at the same time, I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
experience stuff like I mentioned, like being on a cabin crew or
Mm-hmm.
exploring other things that came my way. Like
Mm-hmm.
I one or two modeling agencies that wanted to sign me. So stuff like that. I felt
Mm-hmm.
if I said that, hey, I'm going to do my masters, then people are like, so why are you doing all this other crap on the side? And that was the main
Mm-hmm.
mental block I couldn't get over. I didn't want to tell anybody that I was going to do it, but in MCU, I was just like sucked it up. I just sent in the application, and then if it doesn't go through, I will still be open about it. But at least I'm like showing people that
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to take the steps to do what I've always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, even if you end up getting your master's, like, doesn't mean that you can't do your modeling. You can still do it. Like, there's always like side stuff. Like your journey with your education doesn't like define your whole like this doesn't define you whole.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't like that's not just your identity. You
Exactly.
have much more other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I met a lot of kind of like I met some push from my dad. He was like, you gotta pick one. Either you study or you work or you go explore. Like you can't have everything in life. And then inside my heart, I was like,
Mm.
I think I can though. Life is
Because like for me, the struggle I have is that I want to do so much things, and I realized like I yes like one that's like I hit because of that I hit burnout really quickly, and second like I realized like it's always because there's so much things that I want to do. I'm always getting like 50%. So like this year I told myself just pick one and like really just emphasize on that, and that's it. Like really work on that so that you can really be good at it, not just like oh yeah you're good at this and you're good at this, like but like what is your best.
people overestimate what they can do in 10 years and like they underestimate what they can do in 1 year. Something along
Mm,
those lines. And
mm-hmm,
I just thought like that is so true because just I feel I'm really like you, like I'm all over the place. Like I've always wanted to do martial arts, I always want to do counseling, and I also want to explore like
mm-hmm,
beauty type of industries like modeling or like what's that called, airlines. And I also love sports, so I have like, and my interests are not even remotely correlated, they are so vastly spread out. And
mm-hmm,
I was just trying here and there, and I noticed that like I can try everything, but I need to maybe hone myself in because like I
mm-hmm,
get a lot of this insight from Gary Vee, where he's always like, if you're all over the place, we should at this age try that because, and I really do my best to put this into perspective because he says that even if you come out at 30, you're still so young and you haven't even stepped into the market. And I was like looking
mm-hmm,
at it, I was like, oh my god, that's really true. Because like even my dad, who's like 50, 54 or something,
mm-hmm,
he technically still has quite a few years to live. Like he's not gonna, I don't want to say that lah, but like he's not going anywhere anytime soon,
mm-hmm,
God willing. And to look at myself like I'm only 24, like we are only like in our 20s. We haven't even not even close to 30s yet, and we can
Yeah.
so many things. Which is why I always remember like if we just took it like 1 year at a time, like 1 year I'm gonna do this to my best ability, and then if I want to work on my body, I'm gonna really put a lot of effort into working my body. And then if I want to do sports, I'm gonna put a lot of effort into doing sports. And when I started looking at like how we actually compartmentalize our day, especially now, we have so many hours that is just used for nothing one. Like, and when I started looking at like actually when I work out this like 30-day 100 push-ups thing, it takes so little of my time, so little of my time. And I was like, I can do more than just this. But I think it's just setting that habit of, are you going to commit to do this small activity but every single day? And I think once you get good at like every day I'm going to read for like 20 minutes, then you realize that, oh my God, this is only 20 minutes out of the 24 hours a day that I have been given in my life.
Yeah, the good thing is that you have planned it out. And I guess like that would be like your tip. Like not just like thinking, yeah, I'm gonna do that, but then you don't actually set like a specific time and date.
A goal without a deadline is an unaccomplished goal or something like that. So it's like we have these ideas in our heads and I want to do this, I want to do that. But if we never actually like put it on paper or put it in our phone to say that, okay, I'm going to do this on this particular day, then like it will never actually be achieved. So I'm really happy that I'm holding myself accountable to like stuff like applying for my master's, stuff like the 30-day fitness challenge that I'm putting myself to. And even like uploading content, I noticed that I was really all over the place. I was just really trying to put out content for the sake of putting out content. And I wasn't thinking about like, am I thinking about number one, who I'm talking to? Number two, how is this going to help somebody else? And number three, am I being organized in how I'm managing the channels that I'm managing? And I noticed that I really wasn't. So I started like kind of putting things out, okay, like how to not make it boring, how to just kind of like mix things up. So yeah, I guess that's another thing that I'm trying to do in the sense of like of like compartmentalizing the day.
Well, that's good. Like you're actually like stop and like reflect for a bit and like figure it out, like what are things that you can continue and what are things that you should just stop doing so that you can really like bring yourself to where you want to be.